exciting webinar we have. We're moving that into YouTube as well. Tonight we are in conversation with Tim Ravey, a former assistant admissions director of Berkeley, admissions officer there, reading 1,000 applications a year. Okay, so, all right, fantastic. So now I muted the live stream so we don't have double audio going. Okay, awesome. Let everybody begin to funnel in. And yeah, once again, thank you so much, Tim, for joining us tonight. I think we had a huge demand of people interested in wanting to hear what you have to say, sending in their questions, and I'm excited. I think the whole audience is excited, and thank you for the time first. Okay.
My pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we did this a few years ago. It's been a while, but obviously there's been perhaps some changes, or maybe not so many changes, but anyway, it's safe to say we're in a different world now than a few years ago.
Yeah, I think for most parents, the experience is overwhelming.
Yes.
And that doesn't change from year to year.
It hasn't changed year to year. I would have to agree with you there. Okay. Yeah, so before we hop in, just wanted to share a little bit about ourselves, our company, what we do. Here at Beyond Education Consulting, we work with students, you could say, through college consulting, tutoring, test prep, these sorts of services. But very important for us always remains this idea that we help students to pursue long-term success. And in doing so, that means helping students understand what their strengths are, where they may develop in the future. And that's when certain resources like internships, professor research opportunities become very important. So we can help students better understand where their strengths lie, how they can develop those strengths, and inevitably, as they become the best version of themselves, suddenly they become a great college applicant as well in the process. So that's what we do. Of course, if you want to contact us, we have a million different ways to do it. We're everywhere. You can, schedule a consultation with the QR code. You can email us. You can call us. Whatever it takes. We'd love to talk with as many people as possible. So that being said, I think we're all really here to get some great insight from Mr. Ravey. So I think we can begin that part of the webinar now. All right. So yes, Tim, we have once again a number of questions from the audience. These are kind of the burning questions from our parents, from our clients. We'll start from the top. The UCs are unique in that they have their own application system. They are now test blind, not just optional. Many schools are optional where they would consider the SAT, ACT, although not required. UCs do not even look at it, even if you have it. And they do not accept recommendation letters. So in that light, the UCs, do they, have a higher focus on GPA, or with limited information, anyway, what makes the student stand out if there is no SAT, ACT, and if there are no recommendation letters? That's the first question. Thank you.
Yeah, there's enough information in the UC application for us to get a pretty clear idea about what the person is like that we're going to be offering admissions to. So, of course, we look at all the academics. I mean, that's where they are. They're in high school. They're not working. But within the written portion of the application and the activities, we're going to be looking for those people that are very strongly self-directed and as mature as you can be at 17 or 18 about being personally responsible for pursuing their curiosity. Now, parents, that is quite a bit different from high school. High school is you get a bunch of numbers, you do a bunch of tests, and you get ribbons, awards based on the numbers. We don't ignore the numbers, but we use those numbers then in context of performance, but not motivation. Because remember, in high school, we don't pick our own courses, we don't set our own schedule. We have parents that are waking us up and getting us dressed. So in that context, we're looking for those people that within that context have already indicated that if they come to our school, they're going to be able to grab what we have available and make the most of it. So you want to put that in your mind when you're dealing with a UC campus, not just Berkeley, but all of us, is that we do the job of educating undergrads, like the thousands of other colleges do. But we're a giant research facility. So our undergraduates are going to be expected to kind of fend for themselves. And that's quite a bit different from the life they had in high school. It's not abrupt and we're not cold, but we're going to look for people that can quickly make that
the transition.
Yeah, they're already kind of living like that already. Now, bear in mind, we're a big school, so we will also admit, a lot of freshmen that are used to having things done for them. That's okay. So what I'm telling you is there's no one thing or a list of things that as a parent, you want to make sure your kids are doing.
Sure.
I guess the release of it is you've known this kid since they were toddlers. And she or he go after things a little bit, maybe a little bit more self-directed than most kids their age.
Right.
If that is your child, make sure that that aspect of them gets discussed and presented in the application so I can use that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's a big thing, kind of separating from, not to say separating from the pack, but this idea that, in college, you're going to be independent and you must be able to succeed while being independent. So how can we recognize that independence that you've already begun to exhibit, whether it's in your fields that you're interested in your, daily life, these sorts of things.
Yes. Well, being fair, we're not looking for fully developed,
sure,
people. They're too young for that, but we're looking for the way that they've approached their activities, or the way that they conduct themselves on a daily basis with their family or their school, and in the context of being 15, 16, 17, 18 years old.
Right.
Yeah, we are looking for those things. Now, having said that, every single applicant that we evaluate could graduate from Berkeley. They are all academically prepared. They all have all the skills and the talent to be successful at a Berkeley.
Right.
But we just don't have the room for all of
them. Yeah, I understand.
We're not rejecting people or denying people. We're just kind of lining up the ones that have more of those things that the campus and the faculty would like to see in the student body. That's all we're doing. So
understand.
There's no meanness or antagonism or hostility. We'd love them all. If I had room for all of them, send them all. It'd be great.
No, I understand. It's,
what you want to be thinking of is Berkeley or UC Davis or any UC campus will provide a very similar undergraduate experience to hundreds of other schools.
Sure, that's true.
Let's remind it now that a third of the students on a UC campus are graduate students. That's a little bit different. So as a consumer, you want to accept that what we deliver to a second year undergraduate student is not going to be a heck of a lot different from a lot of other schools. What we deliver to those graduate students is considerably different.
Sure. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Remember that the Cal State universities are built to deliver world-class bachelor's degree education. So do the UCs, but that's only part of our charter. We're also providing education for research and graduate students on the same facility. So we don't shortchange the undergrads, but there's a big industrial strength research facility running all year round that you're going to be on and in as an undergraduate, but you're not really, you're not going to be, discovering new planets as an undergraduate.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So you want to kind of back off a little bit from that. Say, listen, if I get in a UC, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll take advantage of what is there. But the bulk of what you're going to be learning in your coursework is going to be the same. In fact, the first 2 years is going to be very similar to some of your bigger community colleges.
Mm-hmm.
De Anza, Diablo Valley. Your coursework will be very similar to the coursework at a UC. It just doesn't go beyond year 2.
Sure. No,
So as a consumer, just put everything in perspective. Give it a shot at the UCs. If it's a place you want to go and you want to do it, great.
Yeah.
But open your shopping list to all kinds of schools.
Yeah. No, that's critical. And I think I really like the point, understanding sort of the goals of the university, why the university was founded, what it's trying to accomplish, knowing that, it's a mix of undergrad, and especially in the case of the UC's huge graduate programs and being research institutions. Then separately, yes, with declining acceptance rates, everything, a balanced list more important than ever, but just the idea that many schools can offer comparable education, like you said, the intro classes, being the same knowledge base across different universities, but of course, still some special aspects of, Cal versus others.
Well, let's be honest here too. You're calling the shots.
Mm-hmm.
You're the consumer. So we're not going to tell you what to do or how to do it. We're going to evaluate and grade your schoolwork.
Yeah.
But what you select, that's up to you.
Sure.
So what you get from a college experience is more dependent on you and what you do with your coursework than the schools themselves.
Sure.
For example, I go to San Francisco State from high school, and I get all A's and a few B's, and I have a bachelor's degree after 4 years.
Right.
I go to UC someplace, and I get a bunch of C's and a few B's, and I get a bachelor's degree. Now, the UCs don't have magical curriculum. In fact, it'll be very much the same as the Cal State. So it's incumbent then on the student, the consumer, to get the most out of their opportunities every day in class, working with their the graduate assistants, working with the professors, working with the libraries and research material that's available to them outside of class. Putting that all together, you can see that the benefit of your undergraduate education is much more driven by the student than the college.
Yeah, no, it's true. And it's something, I think it's a great point. We try to always tell students sort of where you'll perform best will be the best school for you. And if you can, be amazing in a certain environment and excel and succeed, then that becomes the best school for you versus, a different school, which maybe has a different rank. But if you do poorly there, you have a big problem, right?
Well, these are all generalities. I'm sure that we have people on the call who may have some very specific questions that
we can
get down in the weeds on it. I want to make sure that people heard from the beginning that this overall process of getting into a college is more of a buyer's market.
Yeah.
When you open your mind to all of the places that are available for you, if you just close your mind and say, nah, it's got to be a red Maserati. Well, okay, but what are you going to use it for? Well, I'm going to take it to work. I said, well, a Honda will do the same thing.
Sure.
You can use that extra money for other things. It's the idea that an undergraduate education is very valuable, but it's pretty broad.
Right.
It's also designed to be a transition from a high school environment where everything's being fed to you to a consumption model where you're picking your classes.
Right.
Oh, and guess what? When you're a freshman, you've got 3 classes ahead of you for priority. So, oh, I would like to be in this class. And they go, well, sorry, we take seniors and juniors first because they need it to graduate. So maybe next semester. What? Well, think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, just put everything, take a deep breath and accept that it's a 4-year process that will do more for you if you're very comfortable going there.
Yeah.
And you like the climate.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't cost you an arm and a leg,
Another thing.
As a consumer, put those values up there because you can get a world-class education, bachelor's degree education at places other than a UC.
Mm-hmm. True.
So,
well, yeah. Well, I think that's a very good perspective baseline. As we're getting into these questions, just for everybody to think about throughout the entire college selection process. What's a suitable college? But as it stands for you and your experience, if let's say these activities, evaluating applicants, getting into if they can be independent, if they have this ability to succeed, perhaps in a UC, are there any activities that stand out? We know students can express themselves in all different ways, right? They all have different strengths, but is there any commonality between a great activity?
Yes. And it's not the what, how you do it.
How you do it.
Let's say that I really enjoy, instrumental music.
Right.
And I've been in the orchestra, the high school orchestra, all these years. Now, when I'm in it, I'm making myself available to the new people, the ones that don't know how to key the flute exactly.
Right.
So I'm generous with my time and my talent in the context of being in high school band.
Yeah.
I look for that. Why? Because that's an indicator of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're making cookies for friends or looking out for other classmates that maybe they're struggling a little bit with the trying to be an adult. So you are a helper. We never have enough of those.
I understand.
So not only do you take care of your own business, but you've demonstrated at this age that you have a capacity to help other people.
Sort of elevating your
way, but that's an indicator to me of additional value in our student body, if that makes sense to you. And again, like when you're studying things, it doesn't matter the technical difficulty of the subject matter. Passion is what you find time to do. You make time to do things you're passionate about.
Right.
So it may not be important to the rest of the planet, but it's very important to you. The thing to remember about a UC, particularly like a Berkeley, is we have a couple hundred things you can get a degree in.
Sure. That's true.
We've got majors with 30 people in them, and I'm not sure what they're doing, but it's really important to them. And if you're one of those people, you're going to be working with that small group right through your degree.
Right.
So do you want a bunch of, what do you call it, disassociated people that just work like robots? Or do you want people that interact?
No.
Make a relationship that could last. I have friends, I'm 71 years old. I still have friends from college.
Yeah, that's great.
So when you put all those things together, I'm looking at this, I'm going, hey, they're fine with everything. They're good students. Are they perfect? No. Are they engaged with other people? Yes. Big thing. Are they helpful with other people? Practically, why is that good for Berkeley? I don't have, as an administrator, I don't have as much stuff to take care of because you guys are taking care of it yourselves. In the context of being 19 or 20 or 21 years old. So you understand the practicalities here.
Yeah.
We certainly love high academic performance. You bet.
Yeah.
But in the practical side of it matters as well.
Yeah.
And we know that they've been living in a home, with parents that do a lot for them. So we're not looking for them to be, self-sufficient.
Right.
But in the context of their activities, clubs, sports, contests, math contests, chemistry contests. Well, you don't have that kind of stuff in college. We don't, have contests.
Sure.
But, were you part of a group and you helped people? Are you a helper on your work team?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us are not.
No, understand.
That's okay. So there's nothing in your application that's a negative.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. There's just some aspects of your personality that I'm going to notice.
Be more beneficial. Yeah.
Remember, two people read every word, every application. And Berkeley's a little different. Not all UC campuses do that.
Right.
So I'll do 40 a day. I'll do about 5 an hour. I'm pretty thorough. So if I'm not sure about something, I just flip back in the application. And when I'm sure I have a really clear understanding of all the different values available to me, you got to tell me. So if you don't tell me, I can't use it. But when I have all those things, then I can make a recommendation. And that's only the first part. That's not a selection. It doesn't say, Timmy's in, slam dunk. I'm going to give an evaluation about Tim, and it's going to go in with the mix. So you've done all you can do when you represented yourself in your application to any college about those things that have value other than the numbers, other than the activities, other than the list of things that the personal values.
How do you communicate those? Yeah.
And this is in the context of being a 16 or 17-year-old high school student. So it doesn't have to be epic. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a little hidden. That's a hidden thing that I want everybody on this call to kind of be working with, and not just for UC, but for any activity that you want to apply for, a job or a club. What's your value?
Right. No, it's a very fair point, comparing it to a job in a certain instance. And I think getting back to the idea, like you said, you're building a community. You're deciding who will join our campus. And people are aware that classes are built and we want the best of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But maybe what's less thought about is the fact that we know those people need to interact with each other. We don't just need the best mathematician. We need the best mathematician who will work well with the other groups or clubs and this and that. So as you build a community, what are the values, let's say, at Berkeley, and how do you identify who maybe fits those values?
And I will recommend introverts who are extremely strong in like their conceptual approach to knowledge. For example, I mean, people have different
strengths,
values. But I would like people to not overlook kindness and helpfulness.
Right. Nice.
Well, how do you put a number on that? Well, you don't. You don't give grandma a number for being kind. But you make sure that you can involve grandma as much as you possibly can, because they have value.
Totally. I like that comparison. Oh, sorry. You hit more. Oh.
Yeah. So again, this is all general stuff. I'm sure we're going to get into specifics, but it needs to be said.
I understand.
Because, I mean, look, we Jonathan and I, we do this every year.
Yes.
So we want to make sure that stuff that's self-evident to us doesn't get unsaid.
I understand. Establishing certain baseline parameters, sort of perspective, is important. And I think also the perspective you had mentioned is not unlike have a job in that you have a resume which gets you looked at, right? And then, but how do you select who gets the job? Well, do they match our corporate culture? Do we think they'll work well on the team? Beyond the resume, do I like this person? Do I think I can work with this person? So you're getting into these aspects of how do you communicate those elements, in through the activities, through the essays, ways in which more human elements of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, except, at our college, except for College of Engineering, all other freshmen are admitted without a major.
Yes, that's an interesting thing.
I'm going to do this major, and you get there and the college says, well, okay, but you have to do a bunch of stuff before you can apply.
Right. It's interesting to state for the audience that although in the application you do identify it's actually primary interest for Berkeley. It's not, you don't
The reason we ask you for your intended major is so that you will be evaluated for the proper college. Remember, we have 5. And when you say, oh, I want this major, then I know, oh, that's the college of this. Oh, this is the college of that. But that's it. So when a student says, well, I'm going to be a computer science major. Well, maybe, but the reality is about half of the graduates have a degree in a major that might be close, but it's not exactly the one they put on their high school application. I have 200.
Yeah.
And there's going to be graduates in all of them. And when you're in high school, you go, well, I'd like to be pre-med. I go, I don't have a pre-med.
Yeah.
I have about 25 majors that will help prepare you to take, your MCATs. So it's a little different from that. You said it yourself a couple minutes ago. Make sure that you describe the things you're interested in so I can evaluate you. But understand, this is not a graduate program. You're not expected to declare a major for 2 years.
Right.
So, yeah. Well, let's say you want to be a math major.
Yeah.
Our undergraduate math department has 228 undergraduate courses in mathematics. Probably take 20 by the time you graduate. But do you know how many different little compartments of math that means?
Right.
Well, by the time you graduate, you're going to find your group,
Right.
And the rest of us won't exactly know what you guys are talking about, but you will.
Your group will know.
And you'll all be math majors.
Right.
But,
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah. Say on the topic of majors, this was a question, I think it connects well. Do different majors have different acceptance rates, even if they're all under the same college? Example, biology, is that lower acceptance rate compared to philosophy?
Not for freshmen. They will for junior transfers.
Okay, for junior
transfer, you're going straight into the major.
Right, because then you're going to the major.
You have to satisfy all those prereqs, and then the college will say, I've got X number of spots fall available for this major. But that's for juniors. They only have 2 years and they're out.
Right.
For freshmen, they just take you in and you go, hey, you have plenty of time to work with the college counselors to prepare yourself for whatever major you want to end up with. And parents don't want to believe this, but most people who graduate say, yeah, when I was a freshman, I was going to be this major, but I found out it wasn't as interesting to me as this other one. So then I wanted to be this major, and I shadowed a couple courses, and I thought, yeah, close, but that ain't it. But I finally found the one I'm looking for, and it's Celtic Studies.
I understand, yeah.
The parents go, oh my God, what are you going to do with a degree in Celtic Studies? Well, it turns out all of these fantasy movies need people who know all about Celtic Studies to be able to do the costumes and the scenery and advice and write stories. And there's tons of work for whatever you want to do.
Sure.
That's an extreme exaggeration, but my point is, it's an exploration at a UC. Maybe other colleges won't have as wide things, you know, to take.
Right.
But to answer the question, no, when you come in, you're a freshman.
Right. I understand. So the 5 different colleges at the UCs, you know, may have different percentages, as in they accept and reject at different rates, but it's not going to be major specific within the college, because they said they're expecting changes, and they just
put on your application, even in the College of Engineering.
Yeah.
The only reason same thing, they want to know how many of them, of the people they select, are going to be on this track, this track, this track, or this track. Engineering is pretty tracked.
Yeah.
They just want to know. But when you get there to engineering, particularly in the first year, you go, ooh, I think I want to do energy engineering instead of, you know, electrical engineering. And they go, fine, because everything you've been taking as a freshman satisfies the requirements for all of our engineering majors. It's just a logistics thing that they want to have.
Right.
Now, 80% of you are going to end up in the big liberal arts college, and there it's like a big, you know, dim sum cafeteria. You just do what you want to do.
Right. Yeah. And just for the audience, when we had said a junior year transfer, that would refer to a student who's a sophomore, let's say in the second year of a community college, or sophomore in a 4-year college who wants to transfer.
95%,
right.
95% of our transfers come from the California community colleges.
95%, huge number.
We get a few from transfers from other UCs, but not very many. And here's the reason: you just spent 2 years learning how UC San Diego works. Why would you rip that up and start all over, you know, in another place you don't know anybody?
Yeah.
So, but that's what the design is. I was a junior college transfer 50 years ago.
Yes.
It works pretty much the same way. It's still competitive. So, like for Berkeley, we had about 18,000 applications, and we're going to be able to take about 2,000.
Sure. I understand.
So 1 out of 9, it's kind of comparable. But yeah, I mean, it saves a lot of money.
Yeah, no, it's been a popular path for all sorts of reasons, right? Whether it's financial concerns or just needing more time, but but
I was totally prepared for my major when I got to Berkeley.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, it's just a different way to do it.
And yeah, I think that's great. Another question. This one's a little bit broader, but I think still important in understanding the university system, period. What defines a public college versus a private college? And how do they sometimes differ?
Well, in California, you have public education post high school. You have community college system, which is separate.
Right.
And then you have the California State University system, which is separate. And then you have the University of California system, which is separate. Historically, Berkeley campus was the University of California for about 40 years. And then we bought a place in Los Angeles, and then we had a bunch of people move to California. The California state system was kind of similar. It didn't really, both of these systems didn't really expand until World War II.
Yeah.
So after World War II, you had a bunch of people on the GI Bill, and the people of the state of California said, hey, let's build some colleges for all these people and build our economy. And that was what we did. But they stand alone. Now they are called, those are the publics. Privates could be, Jonathan, you and I can start, you know, College of Tim and Jonathan.
Good, yeah.
The Stanford's private. A lot, University of San Francisco is private.
Okay.
So private schools generally are a little bit smaller, but they're just as, they have to be just as competitive or they wouldn't work.
Sure, they wouldn't exist.
But the difference is, among the differences, that as a private college, I can have any kind of selection I can select anybody. I do whatever. I'm a business.
Yeah.
I do what I want to do. When you're public, then you have to have a lot of transparency and say, well, I can't just, take people from Alameda and put them all in, in college. So that's the main difference.
Yeah.
Until about 30 years ago, the publics were about half of their money came from either fees or, like Berkeley can sell stuff from our research, and we have hospitals. So we have revenue we generate. And the difference between what we spent and what we generated, the taxpayers paid that difference.
Sure.
So it was about 50-50 at the UC level. So if we spent $1, we generated about 50 cents, and the taxpayers paid 50 cents.
That's about the breakdown.
My class was the first one after 100 years that had any fees at all. For the first 100 years, you couldn't pay any fees.
Yeah. Hard to imagine nowadays, but
well, it's an investment,
Sure.
So we have all these people that we're all the way out here in California. We don't have any of these Ivies. Our people need a college education, so we'll invest in that, and then bam, for the next 50 years that they're working and doing things using their education.
Right.
Woohoo! California, it's a good deal.
Making money and paying taxes.
But then, things change, and the whole politics of taxation. So now we still generate 50 cents.
Yeah.
The state kicks in about a dime. And so the users pay the other 40 cents.
Yeah.
That's your tuition.
Sure. Got
So
it.
that's what happened. That's where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
And because UC does a lot of research, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Costs more.
Got it.
It costs more to educate somebody in our UC system than at a Cal State or at a College of Alameda.
I understand. Kind of where the difference in cost kind of comes.
Yeah, I mean, College of Alameda does not do any research, and that's expensive. So, but that's it. That's the history lesson.
Okay.
Well, the difference between a public and a private is basically ownership. From a consumer standpoint, it can be, if that private wants to provide you with the scholarship for whatever reason they want, bingo.
You could do it.
Take it. But that's the difference.
No, that makes sense.
Value for a bachelor's degree, pretty comparable. The difference between a big school is that you have more opportunity for bigger networking, but only if you do it.
Only if you take advantage of it.
Yeah, because at Berkeley, we're not going to make sure. Are you networked?
Sure.
Tim, are you really?
You actively contact alums and doing what you ought to be doing.
But the opportunity's there.
There. Sure.
At a smaller school, you can network, but it can be, somewhat more limited. Just as beneficial because you're connected with a very knowledgeable, experienced, good reputation professor at a small school.
Yeah.
They can refer you to graduate programs all over. They can help you. Understand that it's not a huge difference.
Yeah.
So again, I'll say it as a consumer, do not assume that a little private is not as valuable to the student.
Right. It could be.
It can be comparable, better, not as good. It's going to be up to you. Just make sure that when you get to it, if you select a small school, that they have the department or the curriculum that you're interested in. If they do, you're fine.
Yeah.
They don't have to have 200 majors.
As long as they have what
you're only going to do one.
Yeah,
right?
brings you to your goals. I think that makes sense. A lot of people had this question, especially in the face of the test blind admissions, pretty unique for the UCs. How has that changed your reading of applications? Does it change your reading? Do you put more weight on something else, or just kind of how has it affected the whole evaluation of applicants?
Yeah, it's different. Different colleges have used it differently.
Yeah.
For Berkeley, we always emphasize, try to find what's ticking in that individual. So we looked at your test scores, but we didn't provide any extra weight to them.
Mm-hmm.
So if they were great, you'd go, wow, that's really good. But it's like athletics. Oh man, you can really run fast.
Mm-hmm.
But if your test scores were just comparable to other people, neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing in your application that's going to be a minus.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you had low exam scores, you didn't get dinged for them. We would just look for other things of value in your application. So if you want to think about it, we always looked at an application as like, I'm looking for bricks to build my wall of evaluation. Okay, for Tim, I got to here. For Jonathan, I got up to here. Again, I'm looking for those different things that we tell you, but there's like 20 of them, and you go, geez, but for us, we were serious about it.
Mm.
So we're just looking at all of those things that you tell me in your application, and it either has value or it's neutral.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you don't tell me, I can't raise the wall. So if you tell me the same thing 5 different times, I'm really good at chemistry. So I hear all about chemistry. Okay, that's not gonna, okay, got it, chemistry. Really good at chemistry. What about other things?
The same brick repeated.
Yeah.
And therefore it's just
I got it the first time.
Yeah.
So if you mention it more than once, it doesn't add value.
Mm-hmm. And I think
I'm just saying, use your space in that application to really, really describe the different things, and they can be small to you, might be big to me.
Right. And this idea that the UC is, they have what, eight prompts, and you write 4 of them, and the idea is that you actually care to read all 4. It's not just a burden to students. It's not just prove you want to come here. It's that you actually need to understand a student from those different aspects.
Those are the pieces that I may have to go back and review. You say something at the very end, and I go, oh, I think you mentioned something in the very top about this. It's kind of related. So then I'll go back and see how. Don't worry about that. The written sections are very challenging for high school students because nobody's really ever asked them what they think.
Not in that way, not in that format. And
I want you to tell me what I told you.
Yeah.
Spit that back to me. I'm not asking you what you think about it. So when they get this writing section, it's new to them. I'm asking you to tell me about you. Don't tell me about Grandpa Tim and how wonderful he is. It's fine. Or how he inspired you. Well, tell me about you.
Yeah.
And the topic that you get to pick, there's 8 of them. You pick the ones you want. And again, these don't have to be epic. They have to be personally meaningful.
Yeah.
Now, look at me. I'm a grandfather. I have children. I have grandchildren. I love all of you. I love you all. You just have to tell me what's important to you. And you don't even have to prove it. You just tell me, this is what I feel or what I think about this topic. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to judge you, but I'm going to use that to get a feel for who you are at the ripe old age of 17. And that, my friends, is something that most colleges don't give you that opportunity to do that.
Right.
But it's new, so it can be kind of difficult. Jonathan, if you work with someone like Jonathan, they'll have you work many, many versions of these until it reflects what's in your heart and in your mind. And when it reflects this, it's okay that 3 years from now you'd write something a little different. But today, this is who Tim is here. that's what I'm trying to find out. Who's gonna get off the bus, you know, in August to start classes, right?
No, that's true. I mean, it's just this communication of values, you know, just person to person.
And it's not what's important to Berkeley. We're already there.
Sure.
It's what's important to you. You're what's going to be coming. And it's a little different from maybe other colleges, but when you do that UC, and you only do one.
Sure.
For all campuses use, they might evaluate it a little differently. Berkeley, our faculty, they want to know.
Yeah.
They want to know who's sitting in that second row in that 10 o'clock Tuesday lecture.
Right.
Who did you put in my class? Did you bring somebody that had those things that we were looking for? Because if you did, bingo, then I can do wonderful things with them and for them. They deserve the best.
Right.
So that's how this all fits together.
I think that's very important. You know, and sort of a little bit deeper than that, in how students can sort of differentiate themselves, or what could potentially be useful to share information about themselves. To what extent do these competitions matter? Like if, you know, students are AMC or Mathematics Olympiad or UC Computing Olympiad, what does all that mean?
Make sure I know why it's important to you.
Yeah.
When you're doing things, a leader doesn't assign work. That's a boss. Right? So when you're a leader, you should be delivering things to your people. You should eat last. And if there isn't enough, you don't eat. That's a leader. So if you're selling books, or, you know, you're doing something, you're not sacrificing yourself, but you are maximizing the benefit for all these people that you are supposedly the leader of. And they could be, you know, they could be wandering around, and it's okay. You try your best. Come from here. So again, it doesn't have to be. You can even tell me about stuff you tried that failed, flopped. I'll get it. I'll understand. Wow, your heart was in the right place here. You won't do this when you get to Berkeley because you learned in high school that people don't work that way. That's a credit to you. You stuck your neck out. That says a lot about you. So, but it was important to you. It mattered to you.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. The idea that competition may prove the existence of a skill or an ability, but you know, what then do you do with it? Why do you do it? How do you do it? And how is that relevant or useful?
I can't change the environment you come from, which is sometimes very unhealthy. Chew people up, spit them out, competitive. But at Berkeley, you will have people like that. We do not encourage that. We encourage collaboration. So it's healthier. So, I mean, if you're a predator, you know, I'm not going to hold that against you. But I'm not looking for an army of meat-eating, you know, warriors.
Not good for the community. That's
well, you know, kindness goes a long way. Kindness with a smart purpose. That's how moms get things done.
That's true. I guess it sounds like a basic question, or maybe difficult to answer, but you know, in the confines of the application, you don't have a lot of quote unquote data points. You have your activities, you have your essays. How do you show kindness? I mean, or what are examples you've read or seen that where you could feel the heart of the person? Again, obviously there's a million ways to do it, but from your experience a little bit.
It's usually small things.
Yeah.
And it's usually hard to write about because if you're kind, you don't usually see it.
Doesn't really.
But here's the secret. What am I? I'm a grandfather. Ask your grandparents what you do that is kind. They will tell you. We see it. Okay. We don't know the answers, the technical answers to your chemistry or your computer science classes or your math. We don't know any of that stuff, but we know what's in your heart because we've been watching you since you were a little toddler. We know who you are. So you want to know about yourself? Ask a grandparent. Ask an older adult what it is about you that is special. And you'll get answers. And you can use them on your college application. And you can use those on job app. You can use those going forward. This is an opportunity for you to learn who you are.
Yeah.
You might get into a UC, but so what? When has anybody asked you or told you what is so wonderful about you?
Yeah, it's a very particular perspective, and it cuts pretty deep. And if you're trying to express your values and your character through a limited number of stories, we speak with parents. We haven't incorporated grandparents into what we do, but maybe we ought to.
We're getting back to what we said at the beginning of this program, which was that being in college is a different environment than being in high school. High school is a bunch of races, a bunch of sprints. Oh, I came in third.
Yeah.
Here's my medal. Well, college doesn't do that.
Sure.
So it's important to think about where you're going. We're not looking for the best high school student ever.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a curriculum for that.
Sure.
I don't have any classes in ACT or SAT exams.
The goal is not to be the best 16-year-old in
the grade. It was designed for a time 100 years ago when we, particularly in rural areas where school education was kind of leaky. You weren't sure if they really were what they were teaching out there. But it's become redundant and obsolete. Your high school transcript will tell me as much as about your academics as an exam will. So, and again, I don't need 4,000 valedictorians because I'm not going to get them. But I'm going to get 4,000 really great young people who are curious and motivated and pretty smart enough, and you're going to do wonderful things for the next 50 years. That's the business I'm in.
Yeah.
So I'm not a judge with a stopwatch. Come in fourth. It's not going to matter here.
Yeah.
Because I don't have those kind of things here.
I think those are good points. On a slightly more technical level, we did get this question. I'm curious too. We know that the UCs have their own special GPA calculation. They don't take ninth grade into account. They have their weighted courses. Do admissions officers only look at what that UC GPA is, or is there still a little bit of notice of the unweighted or the weighted, or is it just purely looking at that? Or for example, all the courses are listed in the application itself, or is it all reviewed?
I have to pay real strict attention to what everybody gets.
Yeah.
So if you are in a situation where you can get extra stuff, added value, but it doesn't, I can't use it I can't use it when everybody doesn't have the resources to.
Sure.
Or
So you're saying school to school. Some schools have more APs. Some schools have a different curriculum structure or whatever.
It's great. It's great. You know, you know me. I mean, I'm 6'6", right? A big giant.
Tim's a very tall guy.
I'm a big giant white guy.
Yeah.
So does that mean I have more value than somebody who? Well, probably in a basketball game I do.
Yeah, you'd be better than me in the basketball game. We're on opposite ends of the spectrum.
But the point is, the point I'm making is that if you're good at an activity or a sport or an art, added value.
Sure.
It doesn't move you ahead of people that don't have that. It's part of what makes, it's part of you. It's things that you can do on campus to become an adult activity for the rest of your life. Yeah, I got world-class sports. I got art. I have all these things here that you can do. But in terms of your value to the group, it's just part of, it's one of the facets of you as a diamond. It's, you're a little different from other people. So when it comes to like exams or AP exams, that's fine. You get college credit for that. But everybody can't afford this.
Sure.
So I can't say, well, Tim's got 11, Jonathan only has 3, so Tim's more valuable. Well, Tim's family has a lot of dough. Jonathan has a single parent. She doesn't have a lot of dough. So she can't buy that for her high schooler.
Right.
So he's not going to have it. So I'm going to look, to answer your question, I'm going to look very carefully at your unweighted.
Yeah.
I'm also going to look at if you had AP, and maybe you didn't take the exams, but if you had AP courses available, or you have you have, if you have rigor available and you take it, then that's value.
Sure.
If you have rigor and you don't take it, that's a missed opportunity.
I understand. Yeah.
If you wait until the last 2 days to do your personal insight responses, that's going to be a missed opportunity. It was there.
Yeah.
August 1st, it was there.
Yeah.
September 1st, it was there. October 1st, it was there. November 1st, it was there. Oh, it's November 28th. I better do those personal insight responses. Okay. So we're going to look at what do you do with what you have to work with.
Yeah, no, I think, well, that's important. The idea that, you're kind of evaluated within your context. If you have more resources or have all the different opportunities, then are you taking them, or are you, like you said, are you missing them? And the idea is ought to be taking them.
Again, this is not a negative. If you take a bunch of AP exams, those are all added value, but they don't raise this.
Sure. Yeah.
Because you are who you are, whether you take those AP exams or not.
No matter what.
Right?
Sure.
So, but I always say, get as much education as you can. So you're going to use it somewhere.
I think that's fair.
But we're a public, so I can't say everybody has to have 10 AP exams. But I'm also going to notice things like this. I know it goes into your local context. You come from a school district that's very low resourced, and you're getting A's in your AP courses, and you're getting 2s in your AP exams. Okay, so that is not a negative. That's what I'm looking for, is if most people in your school are getting 2s and 3s and you're getting 4s,
Right. So then suddenly the 4 matters a lot due to the
Yeah, because
content.
that would indicate to me that you're doing something personally extra to get content and context that, you know, God bless them, but they just don't require it in your classroom.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, I know how that works, but I can't judge any of this stuff. I can only account for what you do.
I understand.
And what I say about 11 times, it's not a negative. If you only get a 2 on an AP exam and you got an A on your transcript, you get credit for the A.
Right.
You're not going to get college credit with a 2. You're going to get college credit with a 3, 4, or 5. So from my standpoint, if you get a bunch of 3s, it's just as valuable if you got a bunch of 5s. And so you have to be careful about that too. So I'm not saying, well, aren't 5s better? So they could be. But I have a child who teaches college history who never got grades higher than a C because he's dyslexic until he got to college.
Interesting.
So, you know.
So, no, I mean, there's a myriad of personal factors that.
Right. So again, I will add value for everything you can achieve, every activity, every workshop, every hackathon. Yes.
Right.
But I'm not going to add them up and say, oh, Jonathan got 11, Tim's only got 3. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get an indication that Jonathan is on fire for computer science. Look at all the stuff that he did. And so I know that if you go to San Jose State or Berkeley for computer science, you're going to tear it up.
Right.
But I also have to look at the rest of you. You know, you just stay up in your room eating Cheez-Its, you know, never talk to anybody. And I'm not mocking it. I'm just saying, where's your interactivity, right?
Yeah.
Where's your value to the group?
You know, yeah. So if you could have excellence, how do you exhibit it, and how does it affect others?
So it goes back to what I'm saying is that when you're missing opportunities, I can't use that to build my recommendation.
Yeah, and I think it's a good way of putting it. Just they're just missed opportunities. So if you have excellence, then if you can apply it somewhere, fantastic. If you don't, it's just really perceived as like a missed opportunity.
I'm your grandpa. I'm still gonna love you. You know, you're wonderful. In terms of what the college is looking for in your application, I'm gonna have to see it.
Right, no matter what. Yeah, well, Tim, I will say greatly appreciate the time. I think we've it's kind of taken up our time here, and obviously appreciate the audience sticking with us this whole time for the great questions up front. And yeah, Tim, we're going to do our best with our students this year. Berkeley's top choice for a lot of people for many good reasons. Yeah, just thank you again. Any party words?
Yeah. All right. Personal advice to all these parents.
Yeah.
Again, Jonathan and I do this every year. We know how this works. You may only do this once or a couple of times. It's very nerve-wracking. So get advice from people like Jonathan's group, and be comforted knowing that the objective is to get them in a college where they are satisfied. Don't worry about the brand name on the college for the bachelor's degree. You save that money for post-grad. That's where, that's very narrow. And I hope this has been helpful for you. And I really hope that you get an understanding that every college is trying to help every applicant. Yeah. So it doesn't insult me when the kids say, I got rejected by Berkeley. Look at this face. Does this look like the face that rejects anybody? We just can't. I mean, I got 128,000 applicants. I got room for 12,000.
Right.
So we're not able to offer admission to everybody that we would like, but we don't reject anybody.
Sure.
We don't do that.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Tim. Thank you for the parting words. Hope you have a good night, and thank you everybody who attended. Have a very